On the morning of January 11, 2003, Maurice Gibb woke up in pain that no one could ignore. Hours later, he was on an operating table, fighting for his life, while the world outside had no idea the quiet storm about to strike. He survived decades of fame, feuds, and heartbreak, but he could not survive this. And yet the tragedy that stunned millions was only part of the story. Behind the smiles, the jokes, and the falsettos that defined a generation, Maurice carried secrets so heavy, so haunting, that they would transform the music he loved into instruments of sorrow. Which songs broke the man who held the Bee Gees together? And why did their melodies cut deeper than anyone could have imagined? Tonight, we uncover the hidden story of Maurice Gibb and the music that almost broke him. The confession. At age 52, Maurice Gibb finally spoke publicly about something he had carried privately for years. In an interview that surprised fans around the world, the man known for his easy laugh and steady presence admitted there were two songs that destroyed him emotionally every single time they played. The first was "Wish You Were Here," recorded in 1989. It was the Bee Gees' tribute to their youngest brother Andy, who had died of heart failure at just 30 years old. The drugs had finally caught up with him. Robin sang lead vocals on the track, but Maurice arranged every harmony. Every chord carried his grief. Every note reminded him of the brother he had tried desperately to protect and failed. When the Bee Gees performed it live, fans noticed something strange happening on stage. Maurice would step back from his microphone. His hands would shake slightly on his bass guitar. Sometimes his eyes filled with tears that he tried to blink away before anyone noticed. The man who never broke, who held everything together through decades of chaos and conflict, was breaking right there under the spotlights. Every performance was a funeral all over again. The second song was older. "Don't Forget to Remember," recorded back in 1969. For most fans, it was simply a beautiful ballad about memory and longing, but for Maurice, it represented something far more personal. His deepest fear, the fear of losing Robin, his twin brother, the person he had shared everything with since before they drew their first breaths. Maurice and Robin had entered the world just 35 minutes apart. They had shared a bedroom as children, learned guitar together, tasted fame together. Being a twin created a bond that other people could never fully understand. They knew each other in ways that transcended ordinary sibling relationships. They could finish each other's sentences. They could sense when the other was troubled. As Maurice aged, "Don't Forget to Remember" became harder and harder to hear. The lyrics about memory and loss felt too real, too personal, too close to something he could not bear to examine directly. He told friends the song made him think about what would happen if Robin died first. What would existence even mean without his twin brother beside him? When the Bee Gees performed it in concert during the 1990s, Maurice's voice would catch on the background harmonies. He was not the lead singer, but somehow he carried the emotional weight of the entire performance. The steadiest member of the band was trembling. These confessions revealed something profound about Maurice Gibb. Behind the jokes and the steady presence was a man who felt everything deeply. He had spent his entire life taking care of everyone else, keeping peace between Barry and Robin, trying to save Andy from himself, holding the band together through crisis after crisis. But some pain was too heavy, even for him to carry alone. Some fears were too big even for the man who could fix anything. The final days, Maurice had been ignoring warning signs for months. Stomach problems that would double him over with sudden, sharp pain. Discomfort he dismissed with jokes. About getting old. His family urged him repeatedly to see a doctor, but Maurice kept putting it off. He did not want to worry anyone. He did not want to slow down the band. He was Maurice Gibb. He was supposed to be the one who took care of problems, not the one who had them. The Bee Gees were in a good place. They were talking about recording a new album. Maurice was genuinely excited about making music with his brothers again. After all the years of conflict and crisis, life finally felt stable. He had been sober for over a decade. His marriage to Yvonne had healed. His relationships with his children had been rebuilt through patient work and genuine change. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. Then came the morning of January 11th, 2003. Maurice woke up in terrible pain. This was not the familiar discomfort he had been dismissing. This was something far worse. Yvonne called emergency services immediately. Paramedics rushed him to Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami. Doctors quickly discovered the problem. His intestine had twisted, cutting off blood flow. It was serious, but it was treatable. Surgery was scheduled right away. Yvonne called Barry and Robin. The family gathered at the hospital, worried but not panicking. Maurice was only 53 years old. He was strong. He had survived everything life had thrown at him. Addiction, the collapse of his first marriage, years of conflict within the band, the devastating loss of Andy. Surely he would survive this too. Barry held vigil in the waiting room. Robin paced the hospital corridors. Yvonne sat by Maurice's bedside before the surgery, holding his hand. Even in agony, Maurice tried to joke with the nurses. Even facing surgery, he was trying to make other people feel better. That was who he was, the caretaker, the one who put everyone else first. The operation began that afternoon. Doctors worked to repair the twisted intestine. At first, everything seemed to be proceeding normally. The surgical team had done procedures like this countless times before. Then something went catastrophically wrong. Maurice's heart stopped. The medical team worked frantically to bring him back. They used every technique they knew. 45 minutes of desperate effort. Nothing worked. Maurice's heart would not restart. Maurice Gibb was pronounced dead at 1:30 p.m. on January 12, 2003. The man who had held the Bee Gees together for over 30 years was gone. At his funeral, held at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Miami Beach, they played "Wish You Were Here." The song Maurice had confessed he could never hear without crying had become his farewell. The song written for one lost brother was now saying goodbye to another. And somewhere in that church, everyone who truly knew Maurice understood the cruel poetry of that moment. The beginning. Maurice Ernest Gibb came into the world on December 22, 1949, 35 minutes after his twin brother Robin. From their very first moments, these two boys were opposite sides of the same coin. Robin was the serious one, intense and moody, lost in his own thoughts for hours at a time. Maurice was the one who made everyone laugh, the family clown, the peacemaker, the boy who could diffuse any tension with a perfectly timed joke and an easy smile. Their father Hugh was a drummer and band leader who understood music from the inside. Their mother Barbara filled their Manchester home with songs and melodies. When the family settled in England, music became the air they breathed. Barry, the oldest brother by 3 years, received his first guitar at age 9. Soon Robin and Maurice wanted to play too. The three brothers started singing together in their living room, not knowing they were rehearsing for a career that would span decades and define multiple eras of popular music. Barry played guitar and naturally took the lead. Robin had a voice that could reach notes most singers only dream about, a distinctive vibrato that would become instantly recognizable worldwide. And Maurice discovered something remarkable about himself. He could play anything: guitar, bass, piano, drums, keyboards, mellotron. If an instrument made sound, Maurice figured out how to master it. He became the musical Swiss Army knife of the family, filling whatever role any song required. While his brothers fought for the spotlight, Maurice was content to be the foundation that everything else rested upon. In 1958, when Maurice was just 8 years old, the family packed everything and moved to Australia. They settled in Redcliffe, a small town near Brisbane. It was there, on the other side of the world from where they were born, that three brothers would start something that would change their lives forever. The name came simply: Barry Gibb, BG, Brothers Gibb, Bee Gees. The Bee Gees were born. They started playing local shows around Brisbane. Maurice was 11 years old, still learning the proper way to hold a bass guitar. But even then, patterns that would define the next 4 decades were already forming. Barry wanted to be the leader. Robin believed he was the superior singer and deserved more recognition. They fought constantly, viciously about everything from song arrangements to who stood where on stage. And Maurice positioned himself in the middle, calming Barry when his temper flared, talking Robin through his dark moods and artistic frustrations, keeping the peace while his brothers waged their endless war. It was a role he never asked for, but somehow was born to fill. The Rise London in 1967 was the center of the musical universe. The Beatles were at their absolute peak. The Rolling Stones dominated headlines. And three brothers from Australia arrived with dreams larger than their experience and talent deeper than anyone expected. They met Robert Stigwood, a manager who believed in their sound and had the connections to make things happen. He secured them a record deal with Polydor Records. Their first British single was called New York Mining Disaster 1941. Radio stations loved it immediately. Some listeners even thought it might be a secret Beatles recording. The Bee Gees had arrived. Maurice was 17 years old, living a dream he could barely comprehend, making records in London, playing music with his brothers, watching their songs climb the charts. But he was also learning that success extracted a price nobody had warned him about. Barry and Robin's conflicts intensified under the pressure of fame. Recording sessions became battlegrounds where creative differences turned into screaming matches. They argued about who sang lead, who wrote what, how every song should sound. Maurice became the referee, the diplomat, the therapist. He absorbed their anger so the music could survive. He sacrificed his own creative input to keep the peace. Hit after hit followed. To love somebody. I've got to get a message to you. I started a joke. Each song showcased what the Bee Gees could achieve when they actually worked together. Beautiful melodies, tight harmonies, and Maurice's solid bass holding everything in place like a foundation beneath a cathedral. Then in 1969, everything exploded. Robin decided he wanted to go solo. He felt overshadowed by Barry. He wanted recognition for his own talents. Barry was furious at what he saw as betrayal. Their screaming matches ended with doors slamming and threats that sounded permanent. Maurice was trapped in the middle, trying to save something that seemed determined to destroy itself. Robin left. For a terrible stretch, it looked like the Bee Gees were finished. Maurice later said this was one of the hardest periods of his life. His brothers were not speaking. The music they all loved had become poison. By 1970, Robin was ready to return. His solo career had failed to match what the brothers achieved together. They reunited, perhaps slightly wiser. They had learned painfully that they needed each other, and Maurice made sure they stayed together this time. The peak and the fall in 1975, working with producer R.F. Martin in Miami, the Bee Gees discovered a completely new sound. Barry started singing in that famous falsetto that would become their signature. Robin added his distinctive harmonies, and Maurice provided the rhythm that made people want to dance. Then came Saturday Night Fever. The 1977 film needed a soundtrack, and the Bee Gees were asked to write songs for it. They went into the studio and emerged with music that would conquer the world. Stayin' Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever. These were not just songs. They were anthems that defined an entire generation. The soundtrack spent 24 weeks at #1. The Bee Gees were the biggest band on the planet. Maurice was 27 years old and standing at the absolute summit of the music industry. But he was also drowning in ways nobody could see. The pressure of constant touring, endless interviews, and permanent visibility was crushing him slowly. He started drinking to cope. Not social drinking, not occasional excess, serious, dedicated alcoholism that consumed more of his life with each passing month. His first marriage to singer Lulu had already ended in 1973. Now his marriage to Yvonne Spenceley was suffering under the weight of his addiction. Maurice would come home drunk after recording sessions. He would miss family dinners because he was passed out. The man who held the band together was falling apart himself, but he was brilliant at hiding it. In interviews, he joked and laughed. On stage, he smiled and played perfectly. Fans thought he was the happiest Gibb brother. They had no idea he was disappearing behind a wall of alcohol. By 1981, Yvonne had reached her limit. She took their children, Adam and Samantha, and moved out. Maurice was alone in their big house, drinking himself into oblivion every night. The man who had spent his whole life keeping his family together watched his own family disintegrate. The early 1980s brought darkness from every direction. Disco died and took the Bee Gees' popularity with it. Radio stations refused to play their new songs. Concerts drew half-empty venues. Maurice's drinking worsened. He showed up to recording sessions intoxicated. He forgot lyrics on stage. The wake-up call came in 1987. Maurice had been drinking for days straight. He called Barry in the middle of the night, crying and incoherent. Barry rushed over and found his brother passed out on the kitchen floor. That moment forced the family to finally act. Maurice went to rehabilitation. He spent months learning to live without alcohol. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. When he emerged, he was transformed. He rebuilt his marriage. He reconnected with his children. He threw himself into music with a clear mind. But sobriety came with a price. Without alcohol numbing his emotions, Maurice felt everything more intensely. And that is when certain songs started to hurt in ways he could not handle. The brother they lost, Andy Gibb, was the baby of the family, born in 1958 when Maurice was 9 years old. While his older brothers conquered the world, Andy grew up in their enormous shadow, but he possessed remarkable talent, perhaps more natural ability than any of them. In the late 1970s, Andy launched his own career with Barry's help. I Just Want to Be Your Everything hit #1 in 1977. Shadow Dancing did the same the following year. Andy was gorgeous, charming, and gifted. Superstardom seemed inevitable, but fame devastated him. He started using drugs. He could not handle the pressure of constant comparison to his famous brothers. Maurice watched his baby brother spiral out of control and felt powerless to stop it. He tried everything, called Andy every day, flew wherever Andy was performing just to check on him. Maurice felt responsible for protecting his youngest brother the same way he had always protected Barry and Robin from themselves. But Andy kept slipping away. The drugs consumed more of his life each month. His career collapsed. His relationships disintegrated. On March 10, 1988, Andy Gibb died of heart failure. He was 30 years old. The drugs had finally destroyed him. Maurice was devastated beyond words. At the funeral, he could barely speak. He kept repeating that he should have done more, should have tried harder, should have somehow saved Andy. That grief never fully healed. It poured into Wish You Were Here, the song that would haunt Maurice for the rest of his life. Every performance reopened the wound. Every note reminded him of the brother he could not save. Maurice Gibb may be gone, but his presence still hums through every note, every harmony, every echo of the Bee Gees' music. He was the quiet force holding a storm of talent together, the unseen architect behind melodies that changed the world. And yet, his story raises a question that lingers long after the last chord. Fades. What does it take to carry the weight of brilliance that is never fully recognized? And how many silent sacrifices does it take for greatness to survive? The music plays on, and Maurice's truth still waits for those willing to listen closely enough to hear it.